everyone, Sidewind here, and today I am going to be talking about the pre-remaster Fury Barbarian at level 1 in Pathfinder Second Edition. So the class basics are that the key ability of Strength, the Barbarian gets 12 hit points per level, which is the highest out of any class. The Barbarian has proficiency in unarmored, light, and medium armor. It has weapon proficiency in unarmed, simple, and martial weapons. Its fortitude save is expert, its reflex save is trained, its will save is expert, and it gets athletics, as well as free additional skills, and bonus skills equal to its intelligence modifier. So it's a high damage dealing class due to the high strength, and it is also very likely able to perform athletics maneuvers, such as tripping and shoving. I will note that one thing is deceptive on this page. The Barbarian is actually not that tanky. The Barbarian is not a tank class. Even though its hit points are high, and it has decent armor proficiency and better saves than the Barbarian in any edition of D&D, it's still not a tank. It's actually a glass cannon. I will reiterate this later in the video. Moving on, here is some basic vocabulary that must be known to understand many Barbarian class abilities. Flourish. The Flourish trait means that if you use one action with the Flourish trait, you cannot use another action with the Flourish trait. Open. The Open trait means that whatever maneuver that trait is attached to must be used as your first action. So if you attack and then try to use this, you cannot. You must use it as your first action. The final trait is Rage. This is a Barbarian unique trait. The Rage trait is attached to certain abilities, mostly feats, that mean that the Barbarian can do certain things while using its Rage, which is its unique class feature. Any ability with this trait attached to it has its bonus end when you stop raging. And to use these abilities, you must be raging. So this next slide is about Rage. Rage is the main class feature of the Barbarian class. It has both benefits and detriments, so always remember you must use this carefully when playing a Barbarian. So the initial benefits you might see here are additional hit points. You get temporary hit points equal to your level plus con modifier. You do not get these back at the start of each turn. Once these hit points are taken away, you do not get them back until you start raging again. You also get 2 additional damage with any strike made with a non-agile weapon. You only get 1 damage for agile weapons. This is starting to show why the Barbarian tends to not be very tanky at all. To get the maximum benefit from this, you need a big weapon, which also rules out a shield. The final benefit of Rage is you can use actions with the Rage trait. The detriments are that, number 1, it lasts 1 minute until there are no enemies nearby or until you're unconscious. You cannot stop raging willingly. You will only stop once one of those conditions are met. In addition, you lose 1 AC whenever you're raging. This is actually a big reason why the Barbarian isn't as tanky as other martial classes. Especially not as other strength martials, because you have -1 AC when using your main ability. The final detriment is that you cannot use actions with the Concentrate trait. Now, the Fury subclass essentially is just making what is already there for a Barbarian better. You have no edicts and no anathemas. You just get an extra feat at the first level. However, some people say that this subclass is weaker because it does not have unique abilities. It is really just getting more of what the Barbarian already has. So if you want more flavor, you should pick another subclass. I'm going to be talking about the different feat options available to the Fury Barbarian. You get to pick 2 at first level because you do not have a subclass ability, aside from that extra feat. So, Acute Vision grants Dark Vision while you are raging. This could be useful if you're in a lot of capes. If you jumped in the dark, you can start raging, and then you can see. Adrenaline Rush gives you a higher bulk limit whenever you are raging, and it gives you +1 to all attempts to escape or force open. Raging Intimidation allows you to intimidate while raging. Usually Intimidation has the Concentrate trait. Raging Thrower gives bonus rage damage on thrown weapon attacks. By default, rage bonus damage only applies to melee weapon attacks. So this can open up a ranged option, and I have seen some builds floating around on the internet using this as the central feature. Sudden Charge allows you to stride twice, and then if you are in melee, you make a melee strike. This is more action efficient than just striding twice and attacking. You still have one action remaining after you use Sudden Charge. The final one I'm going to talk about here is Moment of Clarity. This is what I previously mentioned as being a way to get around the Concentrate trait restriction. For the rest of the turn after you use it, it takes one action. You can use actions with the Concentrate trait. It can be useful if you want to, say, multi-class, or to use certain features which also have Concentrate, kind of like Intimidation does. The final slide is a few keynotes to remember when you're playing the Fury Barbarian. Number 1, Barbarians are glass cannons. Do not forget this. Despite having 12 HP per level, Barbarians actually will go down fairly easily. This concern is multiplied when you're playing a lower HP ancestry. My favorite example of this is how popular Pixie Barbarians are at my table. Continuing on that above statement, you have to be selective when you rage. If you're just always raging, that isn't necessarily optimal, and you may go down more. It's not simply a bonus like it is in, say, D&D 5th edition. The final thing I'm going to note here is you likely want to consider using some athletics or intimidation, because otherwise the barbarian class is mostly just damage. So having some athletic skill allows you to, say, trip and help your ally. Having intimidation does much the same. That is all for today. Remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the future.